Well, pork and apple are a classic pairing, but what happens when Claire Tansey adds brandy to the party? Well, obviously, it gets turned up. Let's get straight to the Daily Dish. Here's what you'll need: a pork tenderloin, all-purpose flour, dried thyme, salt, butter, canola oil, apple juice, brandy, 35% cream, and Dijon mustard. Claire, I have to say, this sounds like a great recipe, something maybe I would have had in Europe back when we could travel. Remember those days?
It is a fantastic recipe, Tracy, and it is so simple. Even though it's simple, it still goes into my weekends and celebrations chapter in my new book because it feels extremely special. The combination of cream with apple juice and brandy, I don't know, it kind of feels like savory ice cream on pork. It is so delicious. And I really think, you know, let's lean into these family meals, right? Like a simple Saturday night dinner. Make it special, dress up, make a special meal. But guess what? This one still only takes 20 minutes.
Oh, best news of all. I love that. Special and quick.
You got it. Okay, so I've got a little bit of flour here, just all-purpose flour, and a little bit of salt in there. And I'm going to add some dried thyme. Now, thyme is pork's best friend. Pork actually has a lot of friends. It's like the most popular girl in school, but thyme is its absolute BFF. So mixed in a little bit of dried thyme in with the flour. And then let's talk about Mr. Pork Tenderloin. So usually when you see a pork tenderloin, you would either cube it or you would roast it whole. But for this, I really wanted to make kind of like medallions, which always sounds like a very fancy restaurant term. So you can see I'm kind of slicing it on the diagonal, and I'm making it into almost like round shapes this way. And what that's going to do is, first of all, because it's pork tenderloin, it's super, super tender, but also this is going to make it feel like totally restaurant quality. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in my pan over here. Oh, it is nice and hot, just the way I like it. And a little bit of oil just to make sure that butter doesn't burn. If you ever see that combination of butter and oil in a recipe, it's because you want the pan to be able to get really hot, but you don't want the butter to burn.
Ah.
Okay, so remember that flour mixture I had with that little bit of thyme? I take each little piece of pork tenderloin, give it a little tiny, like a powdering, shake off the excess, and then pop it right into that beautiful hot pan. And as you can see, I'm even pressing it down a little bit. Don't worry, it's not really that hot. But what that's doing is it's making sure the whole bottom of that piece of pork tenderloin is making contact with the hot pan, and that means it is going to get a beautiful, golden, delicious crust on it.
I'm just wondering, would you ever try and do this with pork chops or another cut?
You could absolutely do this with pork chops. Even something like a boneless loin chop would be totally perfect here. Once these guys are in the pan, and you can see that they're sizzling up quite nicely here. They're going to get a little bit golden, but I'm not trying to cook them through right now. I'm actually just trying to get that nice color on them. I'm going to take them out of the pan and make a really simple and delicious sauce right here in the pan. And because I put that little bit of flour on the pork and it got into the pan, it's going to thicken up naturally. So this is just apple juice. It's going to be loud. Yes. And here is where the brandy comes into play. And this is where you really start to get the kind of amazing combination of flavors that's just completely classic, totally simple, and absolutely unforgettable. And so as this cooks, I'm going to scrape up all that yummy stuff from the bottom. We call that brown yummy stuff delicious flavor concentrate. And as that cooks up, simply enough, I'm going to put those pork pieces back into the sauce. So remember I told you I didn't really cook them all the way through? It wasn't just a joke. Now I'm going to finish cooking them through, and they're going to go right back into that pan. And it's going to cook for like 4, 5, 6 minutes. The smell of the apple and the brandy together, it's just like, it kind of says the holidays to me, as well as, I mean, I'd also have this in the middle of July, but it really tastes so delicious. Now, they're coming back out of the pan one more time. And then I'm just going to finish this sauce. So, finishing this sauce. Okay, so this is really, I mean, could it be any easier than this? All I'm going to do is take a little bit of one of my favorite ingredients, 35% cream, and you only need a couple of tablespoonfuls of this to turn a sauce into something completely magnificent. So I'm going to drizzle in just a little bit of that beautiful cream, and that is going to enrich the sauce. And then just to give it that extra bit of French flavor, that extra little bit of ting tang, chilong, jingle jangle, a little tiny bit of Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard is used so frequently in restaurants. It gives a brightness and a kind of a richness. It doesn't taste mustardy, it just kind of brings everything all together. And so as this cooks down, it's going to reduce a little bit. I'm going to add the pork back in, and then I'm going to serve this glorious meal right up. I highly recommend my creamy mashed potatoes, which are kind of life-changing. People come over here and then they just have to, never eat anywhere else again because they love my mashed potatoes. And those are simple, buttery, sautéed mushrooms.
Claire, you've done it again. Thank you for that recipe.